Welcome to an all-new show on Shaw TV. I'm Chase Benson. On this show, I have one-to-one conversations with all the movers and shakers in our Quesnel community from a youth perspective. On this episode, we're talking with the Mayor of Quesnel, and at the end, we'll have some rap from Brittany Morton. Welcome back to the show. I'm Chase Benson. Today we're here with Mayor Bob Simpson, who is midway through his first term with the City of Quesnel. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Mayor.
Happy to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So what have the last 2 years been like?
A blur. It's been energizing. It's been frustrating. It's been fun, and quite frankly, it's been very fast. Like, it's hard to believe that we're already midway through the term. And as a new mayor with an experienced council, the first little while I had to get up to speed very quickly because, of course, the council members had all been there before. And then once I got up to speed was to then get council to get some traction on changing some of the dynamics of the city so that we're ready for this transition period that we're in with the economic situation that we're confronted with the annual allowable cut. So it's been really, if I had hair, I'd say it was hair straight back, right? But it's been a very busy time.
So what were you before, Mayor?
So I had been defeated in an election on the provincial scene just the year before running for mayor. I didn't really have intentions to run as mayor. I was kind of finished with politics because I'd served 2 terms as the MLA for the area, so as the member of the Legislative Assembly, representing this whole Cariboo North area down in Victoria. I had in my second term, so I'd had 2 successful elections. In my second term, though, I had a falling out with the political party that I was with, and I think the political party system is a broken system. So I sat my last 2 years as an independent, which was really very interesting, but very, very challenging because you have to resource yourself in that provincial legislature as well as your own constituency office. Ran as an independent. Lost that election in a 3-way split, but I came very close, which is quite a challenge for an independent candidate. And then was ready to go and do other things. I had my own consulting business. I'm writing a book for Harbour Publishing. I had lots of other things on the go, but I became increasingly concerned about this community that I'm vested in. I've lived here for 32 years. I hope my own kids, I've got a son and a daughter, come back and live here and have their professional careers here. And I was concerned that the leadership that we had at council at the time wasn't really making the kind of courageous decisions that needed to be made to get the community through the transition, through our forest sector transition. And so the mantra that I took to the job, and it's now the mantra of council, is that we want our community to thrive through this transition period, not merely survive it. So as a consequence, I ran for mayor. I won with a 72% mandate, so it was quite a good mandate for change, and have taken that mandate into council over the last couple of years.
Wow, terrific. I also heard that you were a teacher before, right?
Yeah. So if you want my other lives, as my wife would say, whenever I grow up and kind of land on what I want to be, she'll be happy. But I moved up to Quesnel to teach, and both my wife and I were teachers. I taught at Quesnel Secondary School. My wife is still in the education system, but she's at the elementary level, and right now she's a resource teacher to other teachers. I became science department head at Quesnel Secondary School. We had the 2 secondary schools at the time, but for a variety of reasons went out on my own and had my own consulting business. I consulted throughout North America, predominantly in British Columbia, on community development, on human resource development, and then on what's called organizational change, so helping organizations to evolve and change. That became a full-time job with a large forest products company called Weldwood of Canada, and I became a corporate manager for them. I worked for them for 9 years before deciding I was going to run for political office. So I've had, quite a varied career. And I think for people who are watching, and for young people in particular, I think we've seen the end of the days. There's lots of people who still have kind of lifetime jobs. But the reality is, I think more and more people want jobs that fulfill their passions, that really meet their own needs, that's fun to get up in the morning and go to that job, and you feel energized while you're doing that job. And in today's world, if you've got the right education and the right skill set, and you can teach yourself new skills or enroll in education programs for new skills, you can have that kind of life where instead of getting locked into a long-term career where you might be on the treadmill and feeling like you're not fulfilled, you can actually just move into careers that make sense for your own personal development. And that's kind of how I've lived my life, is just doing what I want to do when I want to do it.
So for a quick recap and everything of this year, what have you and the council done?
We've accomplished a lot. So the first priority of council was to get the city of Quesnel and the community at large on a firm financial footing. So when I took over as mayor, we had a situation where we had to live with the results of the Canfor mill closure. They lost about $600,000 in revenue to the city from that closure, from taxation revenue. We had a situation where we had a shortfall of $2.4 million per year to maintain the basic infrastructure of the city into the future. So that's roads, sidewalks, bridges, sewer, water, parks and playgrounds. The city had been told as back in 2007, 2008, that they were not financing their infrastructure into the future sufficiently, and they were accumulating this large infrastructure debt. So the first thing we had to do was to take a look at the financing of the city to make sure that it would be sustainable. If we can't sustain our roads and our sidewalks and our sewer, water, our parks and playgrounds, you don't have a community to build on, right? You don't want to end up in the situation if another mill goes down, you're making decisions about what water systems you're not maintaining or what roads you're going to turn back to gravel. You have to be able to maintain that core infrastructure. So for the first 2 years, in 2015 and 2016, we changed the whole tax framework of the city so that we were only taxing to raise money for the capital investment we needed to manage the infrastructure. And we took the operating budget down by 10%. So we took $1.2 million out of the operating budget. Now, the critical thing for council is we didn't do that in the way that lots of organizations do it, because I used to do that for a living, right? Where you say, okay, 20% across the board cuts. Doesn't matter what department you have, doesn't matter what program you got to reduce it by 20%. We actually went into the budget and we went line by line and we asked questions like, do we still need to do this? Is this still valid? If we didn't do this, could we do this with that money instead? And it was the first time, quite frankly, the council had ever gone that deep into the city budget. And in doing that process, we were able to save 10% of the budget, reduce it by 1.2%, with a minimal impact on our full-time employees. We did a restructuring in City Hall where some staff positions were rendered redundant, so some people did lose their jobs, but some of them were close to retirement, and it kind of worked for their own life transition. But on our union side, we only reduced by less than one person, and that one person is just on the casual end, so it's just on a casual that you're bringing in. No full-time person lost their job as a result of that structure. That's a huge feat when you're taking 10% of your budget out. We didn't want to add reductions in the city's employment to reductions in industry employment. That becomes a zero-sum game. You don't want other people losing their paychecks when people in the private sector are losing their paychecks. So we achieved that. The second thing we achieved is we did it with minimum service reductions. So at the end of the day, we reduced the budget by 10%, and the only thing we did was we closed the landfill 1 day a week. We did bi-weekly garbage pickup instead of weekly garbage pickup, and we had a lot of feedback from our community that the weekly garbage pickup wasn't necessary. They were putting out half-empty or 1/3 full garbage containers. And we just did a reduction on a program that used to be called Spring Cleanup, where everybody could put their junk in their front lawn, and our public works crew would go around and pick it all up. And what we looked at, when we looked at that, we realized that that was being done at a time when we could be repairing sidewalks or we could be doing road repairs, that our entire crews that would do that work for 2 weeks were going around picking up people's garbage. So we canceled that program. So we achieved that reduction quite significantly. We then raised taxes only for our capital reinvestment and infrastructure account. So we did a significant tax increase, and we've told the community we're doing that significant tax increase, but people were immediately able to see that come back into the community, because in 2016 in particular, we did the largest single investment in the community that's ever been achieved. Sidewalks, roads, the whole West Quesnel land stability. There was a $10 million project over there. So I think people actually saw, okay, I'm paying some more taxes, but I'm also seeing a greater investment in the community and a greater quality in the programs that we do have. So that was our number one priority, was to get that job done.
Wow, really busy year.
Yeah, it's been quite busy. But on top of that, like, we've been doing fun things. So we went after some interesting issues in order to start changing the dynamic of how the city of Quesnel is positioned on the internet. So if you did a search of the city of Quesnel, the news stories would be high crime rates, mill closures, mountain pine beetle. So we went after some very deliberate things on a social agenda. For example, we are now the second community to be a living wage employer. So that means that the city of Quesnel's minimum wage for everybody who works for us in long-term contracts is $16.52. We're now having that conversation with our business community, but that living wage announcement and designation and certification is now the number one story about Quesnel on the internet. We worked with Northern Health to do a doctor recruitment strategy that is now pointed to in North America of how you recruit doctors to your community. We had a signal that we were going to lose 9 doctors in our community. We're supposed to have 32 doctors based on our demographics and our population size. We were operating with 23, and in the early part of 2015, an announcement was made that 9 doctors were going to leave. So that's 9 from the 23. So rather than going, oh my God, and wringing our hands and woe is us and getting on the press and bad-mouthing the province and everything else, which some other communities had done, we got together in a partnership with Northern Health, with our hospital board. We ended up having a full-time health recruiter, which we still have now on a 3-year contract. We actively went after recruiting doctors. With Northern Health, changed the primary care delivery model for how we engage with people. So we now have a new primary care clinic. We have a new primary care delivery model. We recruited 15 doctors, 15 doctors. We've got a new surgeon, we've got some new specialists, so we were very successful in that. So that's the second story now that's on the internet. So as we do better job of positioning our community and doing the right things, we also tell a better story on the internet for people who are looking to figure out what Quesnel is all about. So we've done some very interesting things as well. One of the ones that's going to be interesting is we're restricting political signs in the city limits during all elections. So we're the only community to do that, but we're saying that we think that 6 signs is enough per candidate during an election, right? So that's another story that's out there about us. And so we're starting to position ourselves as kind of a funky, interesting, progressive community, and starting to bump some of those older stories of crime and mill closures off of the net and position ourselves better to attract investment, to attract residents, to attract visitors.
Wow. So are there any plans from you and the council for 2017?
Absolutely. In fact, just today, we had meetings with our employees. That's a new addition that we've added as well, where we do employee briefings when we've got major strategic initiatives in the city. So we were bringing all the city employees in. We have been developing a new brand for the city. So the current brand for the city is the Gold Pan City. And it's a gold pan with a logging truck and all kinds of busyness in it, and an old block letter Quesnel. We've been working over the past year in community consultations with our business community to develop a new brand. So that new brand is a new stylized Quesnel with what looks like a river flowing out of the queue. Very nice, modern, clean font for that. The tagline will be, "It's in our nature." And so that's the new tagline for our community. That applies both for human nature. So it's in our nature to get through this transition period. It's in our nature to come together and help, those in need. It's in our nature to build amenities that people will be proud of and use. And it's also a reflection of we are dependent on our nature for our industry, for our recreation. We like getting out into nature in the summer and the winter and so on. So it really works well for us. So we're going to roll that out. We'll have a brand new web page. The current city web page doesn't really work very well. It's not searchable. You can't fill in business license forms online. You can't get dog licenses online. You can't find out what you need. You can't report potholes. So May next year, we will have a brand new website that will be modern and funky, that will also allow us to manage the social media better and to keep pushing our better stories. We are going to be opening up a brand new public washroom and community promotion space in the downtown core. So that combination of the brand and the website, all of the color schemes, all of the language will drive into that community space. So people will be actually feel the new brand and feel the energy that's in that. We're building 2 brand new playgrounds. We're going to take a Labordi Park playground and decommission it and build a brand new playground that actually goes up the hillside in Labordi. And do new paving and so on in front of the Visitor Center Museum. So the visitors coming into our town will have a bit of a new face to the community there. And then a brand new playground up in South Hills in a park that's been designated the South Hills Park for years but never developed. So we're going to put in, and that one we want it to be the first nature play area. So it's going to be, again, something different and funky. We've got a lot of investments in the community, so the Hudson's Bay building will be refreshed. Portions of the Riverfront Trail will be upgraded and refreshed. The arena project will finish next year, and we're going to look at paving the entire area around the arena project, so between the Legion and the church and around the senior center. So that will all get a big facelift. So I think next year people will see kind of a refreshing of some of the main areas that they're in our community. And we start planning for 2018, because in 2018 we're going to actually completely redevelop the 3 blocks of Reed Street, where our main retail space is, and Barlow Street onto the highway. So that's an opportunity for us to engage with the community on what do you want that to look like, because that's a 30-year investment. How do we make it more people-centric? How do we make it more attractive, right? On top of that, we're designing bike lanes throughout the city. So next year, we're hoping to launch an initiative where we will start having designated bike lanes. We'll have share the road signs. We've got a long-term plan to get more standalone, separate bike lanes throughout the city, so we can drive that initiative. And that will articulate with a major trails initiative that we're just undertaking. We're building a master trails plan that will see us look at all of our trails, from motorized trails, so ATVs, snowmobiles, motocross bikes, mountain bike trails, running trails, walking trails, horse trails, map all of that, GPS it, get signage onto it, get interactive maps, and hopefully an app that goes with that, so when people are coming into town and want to go for a quick bike ride or a quick run, they can quickly find out where the nearest trail is and go. So that, combined with our bike trails, combined with refresh of the Riverfront Trail, will make us quite an attractive community for people coming through. So we've got lots of, next year I'd say is a kind of a refresh year. And then on top of that, we're working on 2 fundamental projects. The pool, we're looking at a major upgrade to the pool, particularly the leisure pool, to get things like a lazy river in there and better fountains, a water slide, etc. We're getting that project ready because we believe that the federal and provincial government are going to open up a funding project that we may be able to get 100% funding from that from the federal and provincial government. And then we're just working, and this is with our joint partners through the North Cariboo Regional Rural Directors and the Regional District. We're looking at a new gymnastics facility bolted onto the soccer complex. So the two of them would share a front entrance, and embedded in there would be an indoor playground and climbing wall, a new gymnastics facility. And then we're also in the planning stage of expanding the soccer facility to a full field. Now, the pool and the gymnastics soccer facility is to get what are called blueprint ready or shovel ready plans, because the communities that have those plans ready have some reserves in the bank. They're attracting federal and provincial dollars, because when those dollars are made available, you have to have a plan, you have to get it in, and you have to be able to build it within a year, right? So we didn't have any of those plans in play. Now we're putting those plans in play. And then the final one on that theme is next year we're going to be doing a plan for Baker Creek Park. So we're working with the skateboard folks to get the initial footprint of an upgraded skateboard park. Once we get that footprint, then we're going to plan for both sides of Baker Creek around that park area. What do we want to do with that? Do you want to put a band shell in there? How do we put public washrooms in there? What do we do with that space? And the old rink on the west side on Lewis Drive, we're hoping to redevelop that into a new multi-use hard court facility. So it can fit 2 3-on-3 basketball courts sideways and a full basketball court long ways. The roller derby girls have talked about doing roller derby, lacrosse, and then of course freeze it up in the winter for skating and so on. So we're looking, and we're hoping to get third-party dollars, trust money dollars, etc., to rebuild that next year. So I think next year people will see us really getting in and taking what we're working on the brand and driving it into the community with refreshed amenities, refreshed public spaces, and give people a sense that we truly are thriving during this period.
Wow, that's crazy. Tons of going on next year.
Yeah, lots.
Oh, I can't wait. So as a graduate, me and my friends, we're all going to be graduating soon. So in Quesnel, what type of opportunities are there for students like me and my friends coming out of high school?
So I think first and foremost is to look at the opportunities presented with having a combined campus in town, the College of New Caledonia and UNBC campus. And we're working with the college and the university to make sure that we can maximize the program delivery at that campus. So it's got the nursing program already, it's got a social work program. They're actually going to be announcing a horticultural program. I think they announced it today. So for people who want to work in that field of growing things in greenhouses and so on. We've been talking to them about a steam plant engineer ticket that's upgraded into the bio plants, sort of the bioenergy and biodigesting. So the first thing is to really take a good hard look at the CNC UNBC programming and see if that fits with your career plans. The other is to look there's a very big trades component to what we offer here, so to look at that trades and technology lens. There are some short-term programs that students can take, and we're talking about can you deliver those programs here, but you can't just now. But in the tech field or in the trades field, because that's our highest demand back here. We need technicians, we need tradespeople back in our own community, and those are good high-paying jobs. So I think on that front, you know, if you go from high school these days and you really want to set a career path, you've got to go to the higher education, right? You don't want to be in a situation where you know, you're trying to shop your grade 12 education around, because a lot of the entry-level jobs are drying up. But the technical trades jobs are becoming more important. And quite frankly, more and more of our employers are having a hard time filling those jobs. So it may mean going away for a little while if you can't get what you want at CNC UNBC, but we would like people to be able to come back. We are now going to be taking what we learned on the doctor recruitment strategy to help to professionals writ large. So working with West Fraser, that has its head office here, working with the college and the university, the school district, some of our big trades-oriented contractors, finding out what their vacancies are, and then we would have a professional recruiter that would actually go and look for people to fill those vacancies and attract them back to town. And we're hoping that an entity called the Fraser Basin Council is going to get funding for a program called Project Comeback, where what they would do is look for graduates from our own schools who have gone and gotten those skills, so that our professional recruiter is actually tapping people on the shoulder who's come from Quesnel to come back to Quesnel. The main pitch that we would make on that is that if you're a technical tradesperson or a professional living here, you'll get the same paycheck for the most part as you would in Vancouver or the Okanagan. But your cost of living is so much lower here that your take-home pay is actually substantially higher, the cash you put in your pocket. Plus, getting a home is affordable, which you could never afford a home as a young person in the Lower Mainland or the Okanagan now. You'd never get one, whereas here you can, right? So we want to make that pitch to people to attract our own young people back. But I think the first step is, what's that education plan you've got in trades and technology and in professional development, so that then you can consider coming back into town.
So for people that are coming to Quesnel, or even people that are already in Quesnel, why should people stay in Quesnel? What makes it so special?
So it's a great question, because we've been asking that to a lot of people during our branding exercise. We actually had a couple of the doctors that left, of those 9 that were leaving, ended up going down onto Vancouver Island and didn't like what they were experiencing and ended up coming back. So the main pitch that we would make to people is first of all, we're a community where owning a home is affordable. Most communities, that's not the case anymore. And quality homes, homes on lakes, homes on rivers and creeks, or homes with, in the case of South Hills, half-acre lots. The house I live in, I'd never be able to afford it if I lived anywhere else, right? So that housing affordability is critical. The other piece, though, is that if you're planning on having a family, there's lots of activities for adults, but if you're planning on having a family, and I was talking to one of our doctors about this, he's got a friend about the same age as him, same kind of age as the kids are the same age and everything else. They're involved in the same kinds of things. They spend, in the Lower Mainland, they spend hours in their car driving their kids to soccer or to gymnastics, to the pool or whatever, whereas everything's 5 minutes from this guy's house, right? So to go to soccer and then to taekwondo afterwards, it's boom, boom, you're done. And substantially less expensive to be engaged in those programs, and yet the quality of the programs is about the same. So that idea of having a quality place for your kids to grow up in, and our investment in playgrounds, we have 4 times as much parks and green space as any community our size on a per capita basis. We have 11 ball fields that we maintain. A community our size only has 4 on average. So we have lots to offer on that front, right? And then as adults, you again have that luxury of being able to go back and forth to work really easily. To be able to, have more time for yourself. And if you're an active adult, to have lots of opportunity. I'm a national level triathlete. I get out on my bike on a Sunday morning in the summer. I can ride 100 kilometers and see 3 cars on the roads that I'm on, right? I can go down to the swimming pool at any time and put in, a kilometer or 2 kilometers of swimming in the lap pool, because they keep a lap lane, and it doesn't cost me very much to do that. So active adults, they actually have a ton of things that they can do. We're actually thinking about doing what would be called a 15-minute challenge. And when we get our new website up and running, and get people to do videos of what they can do from their house within 15 minutes. So, if you live in South Hills, 5 minutes to Dragon Lake, 5 minutes to Dragon Mountain, 5 minutes, whatever, but do that kind of 15-minute challenge to really accentuate how much things are accessible to you here. Where we do have challenges, and we know it and we need to work on it, is on the arts and culture side of things. So we really want to come back and revisit the idea of a community theater. We want to engage with the arts and culture community in the new year to talk about how we do more of that. And then the other piece is on the entertainment piece. Now, the Occidental does a great job of bringing different bands through. Barkerville Brewery's getting really good at bringing in some of those kind of more studio-based bands and entertainment opportunities. One of the things we've asked ourselves as a council is, on that entertainment front, can we get people down on the river? So right now, we're a river community where you can't go and have a drink on the river, a coffee or a beer. You can't get down on the river for a dinner, right? You can see it from some of our places, but you can't get down on it. It's all city space. So can we get together with developers where people would say, hey, let's go down to the Quesnel River and sit and have a microbrewery from Barkerville Brewery or a coffee or whatever and be on the river, so that you've got those opportunities to get out at night. But we do have some very good restaurants in town. They're in our normal retail space. We think we can accentuate that a little bit with some development on the river as well. So I think that idea of an accessible, affordable, interesting, fun life is available to you here in Quesnel. That's the main messaging of our branding exercise as well.
Yeah, Quesnel's just the perfect in-between zone from a city and a town, for sure.
Yeah.
So, so entertainment-wise, like indoor and outdoor, what are things that you can do in Quesnel to just relax and have a good time, or even future plans for entertainment?
Aside from Xbox in my basement? I mean, that's always the challenge, right? It really depends. So we had the consultants up for our branding exercise, and when they were doing it, so it's a group from Vancouver and Calgary, and we were deliberate going out of town for that exercise because you need fresh eyes on your community. One of the challenges we gave them was to look at everything we've got, our restaurants, our movie theater. I mean, lots of communities our size don't have a good movie theater. The amenities, we have one of the largest indoor soccer complexes in the province. If we go to full field, we'd be the only full field indoor soccer complex that doesn't have any dividing walls or support beams in it, right? So we sort of challenged them to tell us what we don't have, and they couldn't come up with anything, right? So our challenge, I think, is communicating that to our residents. So we're toying around with the idea, for example, with young people, so pre-graduates and even up at the college and university, to put some real money on the table from some federal tax dollars that we get, put some real money on the table and challenge the youth community to tell us what we don't have. We think that that would be a good exercise for them to discover what we do have, and then if there's ways that we can enhance it, we would then be able to invest to enhance it, right? So our job is to actually document, figure out how to get on our web page, onto apps, so that if a person says, I'm bored tonight, what can I do? It's a quick couple of keystrokes. They get an answer to their question, and then the choice is up to them whether they want to leave their Xbox and go do something or not, right? We don't think we're short of things to do. We think we've got a bad connection between people's desire to do things and actually making it easy for them to find out what to do.
So just before we end up heading out and everything, since this is the last time that we'll probably end up talking before the end of the year,
right.
Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
I don't make New Year's resolutions. My wife and I have this conversation all the time. I respect people who do make New Year's resolutions, but the way that I live my life, if I'm not doing it now, then I'm not living, right? So, that's the way I look at it in retirement. I find a lot of people, when I retire, I want to do X. I say to heck with that. If I want to do X, I'm going to do X, right? So we don't, neither my wife nor I get into making New Year's resolutions. But I think the new year has a refreshing component when you get to spend some time with your family. Both my adult kids are coming home for Christmas. My son's in the Navy, so he's got leave and he's coming home, and my daughter's at UBCO doing her teaching program. So it'll be nice to have them home. That's an opportunity to kind of get yourself grounded again, why you're doing what you're doing, get a little bit of energy, hopefully get outside and do some skiing if we get the snow to go with the cold. So I will come back in the new year feeling refreshed and re-energized. And at the city level, our budget process and our strategic planning process is an opportunity for us to set our goals for the year. So we're already well into that. But I wish everybody the best at Christmas and whatever New Year's resolution they do. I wish them all the success in achieving it. Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for spending time with me.
So if you want to look up the city of Quesnel, go to www.quesnel.ca and don't go anywhere. Brittany Morton has some entertainment for us up next. And now for the entertainment for this episode, we're here with Brittany Morton. Brittany, nice to have you here.
It's nice to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a rapper. I'm 17 years old. I'm in a group called Down for the Cause, and yeah, that's what's going on right now.
How long have you been interested in music and in rapping?
Since I was 10 is when I started writing.
Oh. Who have been your inspirations and motivation for doing it?
Eminem, my family. Yeah.
What has been happening with your career so far?
Well, I went to Florida and I performed down there in July for an event called Premiere, and I will be opening with my group for Mad Child on December 23rd. And yeah.
All right. Well, now we're gonna end up listening to some of your music. Can't wait to hear it.
Thoughts are fading and I feel like my soul is degrading. I'm debating to wake up and flow creative, overtaken by the fact I'm growing to these changes, and the people that I loved most are now becoming strangers. But that's the way of life, feel the pain and pay the price. Sharpen the blade and grab the knife, attack your guilt and stab your fright. I'm up half the night trying to figure out what path is right, but habits keep attacking me. This madness in my life, I am guilty. Gloomy thoughts fill my days up. They say I'm fading out, but I don't even wanna wake up. I'm sick of fake trust, fake friends and fake lust. Why do I lose my patience over something so damn they suck? I've gone insane, but it seems like I can't walk away. I froze up, lost in fate. None of my thoughts cooperate, so somebody please help me escape, 'cause God, my head is aching. Everything is gray and black and everything keeps fading. My nights are filled with contemplation, every day was weak. I didn't have the confidence to talk what I want to speak, but music set me free so I get to say what I want to say without no contemplation pondering inside my brain. I can't explain, there ain't no words. That's what I'd say in person, then I put it in a verse, 'cause I don't got the courage when they look at me like that. Always feeling like I'm worthless, but it's different when I rap. Finally they see the side to me that I've been hiding. I ain't the violent child trying to be so compromising. I know sometimes I'm not there, I fade out and I don't care. Reason that I do this, my life is just a nightmare, and I have no control, so I just let emotions flow. They look at me like I'm a joke and ask me why I'm so provoked. The only time that I've ever felt okay is when I'm lost in that music and everything around me fades.
That was awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me here.
All right, that's it for the show, everybody. I'm Chase Benson, and I want to wish you all happy holidays. Stay warm out there.